Hello and welcome. I'm Sean Dubay.
I'm Patrick Quinlan.
And this is Supporting Actors, a podcast about the art, business, and craft of acting from the perspective of two sometimes working actors.
And today we're talking about preparation, the thing that one famous Russian actor did that one time. And also all the other times we have to prepare for auditions or prepare for a role. But before we dive into that conversation of preparation and the traps of preparation, we're halfway through the year. About quarter three is around the corner for all of my corporate speak. Thought we should check in 12 episodes into this podcast, to this journey. What are our goals, habits, routines, things, what's working, what's not working, what has been neglected. This is a good time in the summer for actors to reflect, because there's only a few months left in the year of actual production time since television shuts down for the holidays. So you've got, come mid-August and mid-July, August, it starts to ramp up. And then at mid-November, I think it starts to ramp down.
Yes, I know for myself, at the beginning of the year, I felt very unorganized and kind of rudderless as an actor. I was definitely in a phase where I hadn't done, I'd done a couple like small things that I had produced or things that came to fruition that were a long time from before that. But then I kind of didn't have anything else, and I didn't know what to target, and I wasn't thinking really strategically. And then starting this podcast was a great impetus to start doing some of those things. So it's been great to kind of like, for me, what's worked is just putting in effort and trying to have some kind of sense of direction, whether it's for myself or otherwise. And it's kind of been largely self-driven because the industry's been so quiet, right? So like normally in the past, I feel like I would have relied on auditions or representation to kind of help maybe structure some of this or inspire the need to keep my stuff together. But because it's been slow, that hasn't been there, and it's been largely falling on myself instead. And I've been distracted with grad school or writing and producing, because that's the new shiny object that I have control over, or with my day job or my son. So there's been other things that have kind of made it easy for acting to slip into the back burner. And I feel like I've been good about approaching it in a way where I feel like I could sustain the amount of effort that I'm putting in now, right? Which is like I'm going to a couple of at least casting workshops a month. I'm sending emails about what I'm up to. I'm actually up to stuff, and there's things coming down the road, right? So like I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot there. How about you? What is your year been?
That's great. I guess the first half of the year, acting was probably, like, if I'm being honest, acting was probably a little bit on the back burner. I had, at the end of last year, I had sort of jumped back in and had like consultations with a casting director about my materials, and everything was sort of like, the consensus was kind of, this is all working, like trust the process, like don't overthink it. And so I went with that flow. But in the last quarter, I tried to control what I can control. And so I like jumped back into an acting class with a group of people that I really enjoy. I had a conversation with my reps about, the state of the industry. Are we happy with everything? What are we looking at down the road? And the consensus, kind of similar to you, the consensus was it's slow right now. Like, let's not change anything. So my new goal for quarter three is to create a practice for myself of sending out emails to my contacts and fostering those relationships that I have. Keep an eye out for the casting director workshops. And then I think I'd like to set a practice of writing to actually, follow through on like coming up with stuff instead of just having 10 ideas. Like, let's just get some pen to paper and no, just literally just churn out pages and see what we got. for a while. And so finding the practice that's I'm reinvigorated in finding the practice. And the other thing I plan to do immediately, this based off of our conversation last episode, is I want to. There's some shows that I just there are shows. I had an audition for a show that's like episode 1 of their newest season, and you're like, okay, let's bank on the fact that I could get invited back here.
Yeah.
I need to do some research on that show and some other shows, and see if if they speak to me creatively, and if and where I could fit in, and if I want my materials, or whether that's creating a scene or getting another headshot look done to match that show, and try to like increase the odds there.
Yeah,
So,
targeted
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the new.
Is there a
Mhm.
habit or a goal you've abandoned?
Well, I think the writing is probably
Okay.
like we we were writing pretty
Yeah.
consistently for a while,
Well, but then we shot it and we edited
and we
it.
shot it, we
And
made
like
it, and
those are all writing, but
but it's hard to
new
like
material. Yeah.
pick up the new thing. And I've dabbled, I've jumped, like I've revisited things, or I've spent time thinking, but I think just literally being like committing to a habit of an hour a week or 20 minutes a day or something, where it's like, okay, I
Yeah.
want to do this, and I want to find the time that um won't get interrupted necessarily, or if it does, I can like squeeze it in somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm looking for like the least amount of not like the smallest action that will create a change that I can do, because then we
Yeah.
can build on that, right?
Right. It's the minimum effective dose of
Yeah.
effort. Right.
Yeah, and I think, like, so yeah, I've created like some tools to help me that I'm going to experiment with. Maybe we'll talk about more, but just in terms of like, all right, if I had, if I put on a show and like here's like a worksheet I'll fill out for myself, or
Yeah.
I'm building out my contacts database officially to just be like,
Right.
I can keep track of when I'm contacting people, um and have, you know like, oh, I reached out to them a while ago, we're good, like
Right.
I'll reach out to the next person. So
Yeah. It reminds me of when I was in science, right? Like when I was studying
huh?
and in exercise physiology, like a big like mantra was the a variable monitored is a variable managed, right? And it's like
Yeah,
if you don't monitor it, you have no idea what's going on. There's no way to measure the effort that's going in, or if effort is even going in, right? So
yeah,
like measure it, right? And you'll start to figure it out pretty quick.
yeah. And I guess like to anyone listening who's thinking, oh gosh, what should I do, I think it's like, how many shows are you dabbling in, right? Like
Right.
watching 1 to 3 episodes to really get a feel for it, or how many casting directors whose workshops you've taken are you reaching back out to with
Right.
updates,
And I would
or
say with the updates too, like there's no need to apologize for not sending previous ones. You can
yeah,
just start sending them,
yeah,
right? And it could be something as easy as like, "Hey, I've updated my reel. Here you go. I'd love to be
yeah,
considered for your upcoming slate."
yeah.
No, it's like just assume that they know who you are.
Yeah, and like, how many times do you get a text from someone or an email from someone, and you just you're not keeping track of it, whether or not they've,
No.
you either know,
Well, plus we're
them, or you
literally
don't.
sending them who we are, right? Like
Yeah,
you're sending a headshot, you're sending work, you're sending marketing
yeah.
materials. Like,
And I
they'll
think
get it.
like
Yeah.
being in the habit of doing that is like, and getting it started is scary, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
well, if you flash forward a year, you will have done, X number of written pages, X number of emails, queries, whatever, or researching, like if someone's looking for reps out there, which I know we've talked about a little bit too, it's like research just 1 rep a day, research 1 rep a day, and then really dive deep for 20 minutes and
Just be curious.
see what you can find out about that agency, and just have them in the back burner. Keep your notes somewhere that you can find them again, and go from there. So, yeah. How about what do you think you want the next 6 months to look like, Sean?
Well, there's another short that I want to film, and I
Oh
do
yeah.
want that to be
Mhm.
this year, which is like, a little bit of filmmaker hat, but I'm going to act in it too. So, that I definitely want to happen. Um, I feel like I need to come up with something to try to get some auditions because like there's definitely shows that I would be right for that I need to target more strategically, like you were saying. So I think um, committing to some like proper headshots would be great because I've dabbled in some stuff, but I really need to like get specific
Like a
and do some.
refresh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, just do like a just even a single look, just like a really proper session. I'm due for that. Um, I think I mean, that's kind of the big one, right? Like, if I could do that, if I could get my materials squared away, continue this casting outreach and workshops,
Uh-huh.
like that's a habit I want to keep going. If I'm going to pick up a habit, I would like to start reading, like at least a play a month, right? Or
Oh,
a
uh-huh.
script or something, right? Like I feel like reading is has been absent, and I need to find a time for that and a source for that and kind of like carve that out. My current solution is not working of like waiting until I go to bed and then being too tired. So I,
Oh yeah, yeah.
there needs to be another way. Maybe bring it to work and for lunch or something. I don't know. I need to
Yeah,
find something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. How about you?
Um, let's see. Next one. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about the trajectory of things, I guess. Like hope to be busy. I think I've had some callbacks on some commercials, so the thought occurs to me of doing a few workshops I've seen
Sure.
related to that. But that's a timing issue um, more than anything preventing me from doing it issue.
Yeah.
So I think I think if um, I'll feel good if I can get some of these, um, if I can get into a writing flow
Yeah.
um, and also I think reaching out to casting. If in the next 6 months I send out like 50 emails or something over 6 months or 10 emails a month or something, let's say,
Sure.
I think I'd feel pretty good about that because it's just not something I ever did frequently. And I've got a couple things I can announce, our short film, and I've
Right.
got an episode coming out later this month of a show. So I've got news to share and just being more deliberate about it.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
great. I feel like we, um, more than just you and I, but actors, a lot of us in general, I feel like don't want to be a nuisance or a problem. So we're not great at marketing ourselves or shouting out successes. But it's definitely one of those things you absolutely have to do uh, professionally, right? And it is a professional thing. It's not,
Yeah.
you're not being a nuisance, you're not being a pain by sending something every quarter to a casting director, or
And
like
I
when
think
you have news to share, you should share it.
yeah. And I think I mean, part of that will also be like going through my emails and finding emails and like
Yes,
maybe doing
yes,
a little research, calling friends and be like, "Hey, did you do a workshop with this person? Did they give out their email? Because I can't find it."
yeah,
So that'll be a little recon that'll make that goal harder, but also worth it. But I think too, like the whole Instagram of life is like everything looks kind of the same. And so like you start to compare, like, oh, I'm not doing that. I never talked about acting much on my stories before. So now
sure,
posting feels inauthentic. And it's sort of
yeah,
like just do whatever's easiest and do what feels right for you and just do it
yeah,
and don't apologize, move on. So sending an email,
yeah,
uh, posting a thing, don't overthink it
right.
is the advice I'm going to try to take.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for all of us. So why don't we
Yeah,
get into our main topic
let's
this
do
week,
it.
which is preparation and pitfalls, right? So preparing for a role, some of the things that you want to do, you want to think about, and like what are some of the traps that we can fall into. To kick it off, do you think it's possible to over prepare?
Definitely, 100%.
Okay, what
Um,
does that look like for you?
well, I think what over-prepared tends to look like is over-rehearse, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no flexibility. It's like
Uh,
the way there's a the like the performance has been learned. It's like a horse, right? Like the
sure.
minute like a trail horse, there's a rock and it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
throws the rider. Like you have to be flexible. So I think there's but which actually I thought we'd break it down into research, memorization, and
Sure. Sure.
performance. And this maybe covers all three, but if to me, if those things are too tight, too in your head, those are signs of like over preparedness.
Yeah.
And they're maybe another way of saying that is maybe they're not over prepared. Maybe it's actually the proper preparation hasn't happened. The
Sure.
result oriented preparation has taken place, and the actor thinks this is what it needs to be.
Yes.
And it's like, no, you haven't. There's so many other questions you could and things you could explore
Sure.
or be in the moment for and listen to. I don't know. What do you think? Over prepared is a
I mean,
possibility?
uh, I think it is in the way that you're describing there, where you're results oriented, and you're
Yeah.
like, this needs to be a pause, and then this is a look, and then I say my line like that.
Emphasize
It's like,
this word. Yeah.
yeah, emphasize this word, right? I think so. If you're uh, kind of doing your scene by rote, then yeah, that's over prepared. But like, I I kind of come from a school of thought where there is no over preparedness, because the more, like, I find the better I know a scene, the more I'm able to improvise within it, right?
Sure.
Emotionally. Because, like, if I really know the words, I don't even have to think about it. I could just be present with the person in front of me. Those words come out appropriately, and I don't have to do anything, right? It's like, it's actually less work, I find,
Yeah.
to perform, because then you're just like, all right, cool. I just need to take what they're saying seriously, and like know what um, I want to achieve as the actor, right? Like, as the character, right? Like, what is propelling the character in this moment? Is this helping it or hurting it, right? At a rudimentary level, right?
Yeah.
And like, just being present with that, of like, with that interaction, with the relationship between you and the people in the scene with you.
Yeah. So like the
Yeah,
character work,
yeah, yeah,
the emotional and imagination um
yeah. So
work that goes into it. Yeah, I don't think you
I don't
can
think
ever
yeah,
there's
yeah,
no end to that well, right? But
right. But
unless I guess you get again, it's unless you get tied to something, maybe.
yes, yes, yes,
Like because if you were to prepare a character and be like, actually, my dad hit me at 5 years old, and it's like maybe, but like if you get direction and that's not in the script and you've just invented it in your
yeah, yeah,
imagination, it's like maybe. But if if that idea is now informing everything and there's no flexibility later, and then it's like
sure,
you got to let go of things, I think.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I make strong choices, but you want to hold them loosely, right? Especially in early stages of things. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're auditioning, maybe this is one of the things I don't like about auditioning, is like there is like a it's like you have to be specific and loose at the same time. And it's like
Yeah.
it's different than performing, than like when you have the job and you're in, right? It's like it's a different skill set in some ways, and like, but it's also not in others. Anyways, that's a whole a whole can of worms. But I think focusing on the outcome of the performance, it can be over prepared, right? If
Yeah.
you're really trying to think about what that is.
Do you feel like you've had phases of your career where you're like, oh, looking back, I worried too much about X, or I worried
100%. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been more result oriented in the past, or I think it can crop up with shows you really want to be on, and you get
Uh-huh.
an audition, right? Because then you really want it to be good. You want to put this extra effort and whatever, and it's like sometimes that gets in the way. And like the ones where you don't have time and you're like, all right, I need to get this in
Yeah.
early because I'm not going to be able to film it, and it's like, two takes, that's good enough. Send it in. Those are the ones you end up booking, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a looseness, there's a freedom to it, there's an imperfection. So I think like just being a person that really likes to put out like finely polished, high end looking materials in my creative life, right? Like I tend to want it to be perfect, and that's exactly what's not going to get you selected. I think,
Yeah.
right? There's not always a lot of feeling into that like perfect corporate version.
Right. And there's no like room, like people respond so much to the humanity in the mistake or in the
Yeah,
imperfections, right? Like,
right.
um, and that usually I think showcases a little bit more of our own personality that then differentiates us from the other actor doing the well prepared scene as
Sure.
well,
Right.
you know. I think why don't we switch to like talking about research?
Yeah.
What what sort of research goes into preparation? I guess we could talk about, and then maybe we could talk about it generally. But um, I was thinking, and we mentioned it in our quarterly, like picking shows to research and target. Like
Yeah.
I'm curious about. I haven't done it too much in the past, but I think because of self tapes, I'm now thinking more about the watching films and TV from a visual
Yeah.
standpoint and
Yep.
seeing what the the seeing what the look is and seeing if I can suggest that possibly in an audition if time allows.
Yeah, I could relate to that. And I usually look at the producers, what they've done, the director, what they've done, the writers, and what they've done
Hmm.
beforehand, and try to watch an episode at least.
Hmm.
If there's really no time, I'm going to try to find like clips from YouTube, right, of
Hmm.
like previous things that they've worked on, and just getting a sense for what that tone is for, if you don't have the whole script, you've got like the
Just
scene
a couple
or the couple
pages,
of
yeah.
scenes that you got, right, depending on the role. And you're trying to figure out what kind of like, yeah, tone, likely pacing, right? You can kind of figure some of that stuff out. You'll know if it's like network is going to be different than streaming oftentimes versus like a limited series versus a feature, right? Like they have different pacing kind of built into it. The writing is
Hmm.
different, and like you start figuring that stuff out. Um, I'm usually then thinking about, uh, yeah, I mean, those are the big ones, tone and pace, right? Because I want to find the size and shape of that scene. And I want to give them the impression that I'm in the world, right?
Yeah, and I think you also can, if you watch an episode or a couple episodes, you can see the function of the guest cast within the story, right?
Sure.
So it's sort of like I
Yeah.
don't know how helpful it is all the time, but I think it's good to know just in case it informs your read because like if the hero of the show or the lead, like say lead detective, come and you're a victim or you're a witness and whatever you say, there's a chance there most likely if you watch a couple episodes, you're like, oh, the whole thing that I'm saying really is so that we have their reaction shot because
Yes.
there's probably this probably ties into another storyline that they're connected to.
Right.
So then you I don't what does that do? Then you still have to believably play your scene, but I think maybe the levels to play. You can play with the levels of being like, well, are they going to feel sympathy for me, or do I want them
Yeah.
to feel? Um, is it do a lot of characters antagonize this character? Like
Yeah.
just get a vibe for what's what are the rules of the playground, I suppose.
Yeah. That could be really useful. I will also, I might make framing and lighting choices too, depending on
Hmm.
the show.
Sure.
If it's a comedy or if it's a drama, I might.
Yeah, a little shadow
Yeah,
versus
exactly. Yeah,
brighter,
exactly right. Yeah. Um,
wider.
Yeah, and it depends on the role too. 'Cause, I mean, because some roles are just like you went that way, and you just need to do that in
Yeah.
even light, you know. But if there's something where there's a little bit more nuance to it, then yeah, sometimes like you can. That's, I mean, you don't have to do it, and I don't think it's necessary. And like I've booked stuff with putting no work into my self tape, but I just feel like, again, going into things that I've talked about in the past or previous episodes, that is one of the things that gets me excited about doing it. Is
Yeah.
this like, oh, I have an idea, there's an intention that I want to get across, and like for me, some of that joy is in the directing of the self tape as well, and making those choices.
Yeah.
But that's not always appropriate.
Right. No, and I think having if you are consistently paying attention to stuff that's out there, then chances are you can make those decisions quickly. You don't have to do as much research.
Right.
Or you can say like, oh, this show, it's really moody. They do cool camera angles. Like, I'm just going to do one just because I'm going to get something. I'm going to feel good about it. And then maybe that'll infiltrate my performance a little bit. And
Well, I
you
mean,
never
it's
know,
all part of the same creativity, right? I
Yeah.
think. And like if you're, it's an opportunity. I think the trap to fall into is like trying to make it beautiful, right? And like that's not necessarily helpful. But if you are using your setup as a way to help you tell that story through your acting, right? Like, and I'll use an example. I had an audition for a show where it was a guy walking across the desert, and then he needed to fall down to his knees and like dig for something that he buried there that he wasn't supposed to have, and then like give it back to this person that was forcing him to do it, right? And it's like it was like a 90% action scene, right? And then they were like, if you want to improvise like a button, go ahead. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, so how the hell am I going to simulate walking across the desert and like falling into frame on my knees, right? Like they're technical challenges. I'm not moving the camera, right? And I guess I could have done it like into a seat or something. Like there's other ways. But what I chose to do is like set up what my final shot would be,
Hmm.
right? So like the kneeling shot, and I used a light to make a silhouette on the wall. So I walked in silhouette and turned and landed, right, and then did my scene or whatever. And like that was just the way that I found that I could use my physicality and I could use the silhouette on the wall to help convey the way this person's moving. And I saw that as an opportunity to do something without having to do like 8 setups and make a short film for this audition. And like I didn't get that particular role, but that office kept calling me back in for that, and I ended up, getting something else. But it's like, but that was part of the fun of it for me, and it's just like I saw that as a way to help tell the story that I was being asked to tell.
Yeah, that was fun
Yeah,
for you. Like,
yeah,
and I think that's the key with uh, anything like that's fun for you. That might not be fun for me.
sure,
So
yeah,
I would try to find a different solution that is fun for me
yeah.
to tell the same story, which, is just, but yeah, no, I think, and that fun probably translated and was part of the reason, but we'll
Hopefully
never know.
that, or they were
Yeah.
like, this guy looks like he'll be a problem on set and have too many ideas.
I don't know if that reads. I don't know if that reads. I mean, like, because what is it? You could have gone out to a desert and filmed it or something, and it's like that's ridiculous too.
Oh,
But
yes.
someone
It's
has
also
someone,
unnecessary, right?
right?
Like and you do see this advice sometimes on social media where it's the like, yeah, they wanted a person doing donuts in their car, so I did donuts in my car.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
you don't. Yeah,
Like, yeah, that's not they have imaginations. They want to see your performance, right?
yeah.
So like perform it.
So I guess
Yeah.
the only other thing research-wise, so we talk
Yes.
about production team and
Okay.
visuals of the show.
Yep.
Obviously character, researching your character, whether that's figuring out the given circumstances and the backstory, if
Sure.
you have one, if there's maybe impediments or an
I was
accent that would
gonna say
involve.
like there's some shiny objects in character work, right?
Yeah,
That can distract you from doing genuine work. Uh,
yeah,
and I think some of those would be like, what is this person's job? I need to understand their job. You don't need to understand their job because everyone else in the scene is going to be behaving as if you have that job. So
Right.
like, it's like that's when, if you're in Shakespeare and you're playing a king, you don't need to like, I'm the king. Everyone else does that for you.
Yeah. Right.
You just get to be the person. So, but that can be one of those things that this like the shiny object, if it's interesting or if it's something you're not familiar with, or you're just like, oh, there's supposed to be I should have some kind of faculty smoking a cigarette, but I don't smoke a cigarette. So let me,
Oh,
spend
smoke
four
yeah.
hours. Well, just 4 hours. Like, how do I hold this thing? Or do I need you don't need the prop, right? The prop doesn't matter. If you book the role, then yes, figure that out. But right now, it's like the most important thing is understanding the emotional journey that that person's on, or like understanding the human being. I think another like uh shiny object is like, yeah, if there's a skill of some kind, right? Like if they mention that they toss a gun, or
Hmm.
it's like it doesn't before you know it, you've spent all of your time preparing this skill when it's again wasn't necessary for you to book the role per se, unless it is something specifically where they're like, we need you to do this skill, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a character indicator in the stage directions or something like that, you use it as a clue to help figure out who that person is. But like actually performing that thing for the audition is probably not necessary.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, like trying to put it into your audition to also show, like, look, I also just recently taught myself how to do this thing.
Yes, I can do
Uh,
that. Yeah, I can play
yeah.
this Josh Groban song.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Like keeping it simple,
Yes.
stupid is the a lot of times with audition. Now,
Yeah.
you might have to research, maybe you got the job and now you do have to do some research and learn a skill, or pick up the guitar again, or
Yeah.
practice an accent or whatever. That still has to happen concurrently with
Yes.
all of the character homework that you've got to do, and like
Yes.
of it. So I mean, we've kind of already alluded to it. Like there's a lot of shiny objects in research, for a curious actor to get distracted
Yeah.
by. So when does research become procrastination?
Yeah. Um, I think this is, if it's a scene that's uncomfortable and you're like, but he's drunk, so I'm gonna really figure out how to play drunk instead of the like, no, I have to be really vulnerable in this scene, and that's not,
Right.
it's like, then that's, you're putting the effort on the wrong thing. And I think that, you know, you're never going to truly understand that piece if you don't get some of that drunk physicality, right? Like, I do think that that is true, but that's not the most important thing for the audition, right? The most important thing is that person's emotional journey, right? And that's,
Yeah.
and so I think anything that gets in the way of that, um, and like I've had a rule for myself where like if I can't do a skill within like 3 or 4 takes, it's cut from the take. It's like we don't need it. You don't need it in the tape. So it's like if it's not additive, if it's getting in the way, or if I find I'm spending my entire time thinking about this moment where I have to do
Yeah.
this, you know, dance on a ball, then that's chances are it's not serving me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's great. I think that's absolutely right. If because if you are worried about that one moment, or you're worried about doing this skill, you're thinking about a result,
Right.
and there's a good chance a lot of other people are doing the same thing and worrying about
Sure.
that same moment and trying same hard, and then one guy's going in and just not doing it and booking the job.
Right.
Like because
Yeah.
they did the rest of the work or whatever, or they just told the story in their way or whatever.
Yeah. You had a great line in our outline for this episode, which is facts versus playable choices. And I think that's exactly what it is, right? It's like you're trying to intellectualize what's happening rather than focusing on what your job is as the actor. And
Yeah.
there can be a tendency if it's a character that if they have I find like professions are a big one for me, where it's like if they have a profession that I'm not familiar with, but now I'm down this like Wikipedia rabbit hole trying to learn
Uh,
about like the inception of this thing and why it is the way that it is. It doesn't matter, you know? It's
yeah.
like
No, it's
it
like he's breaking up with his girlfriend. Like that's what's mattered.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what matters, right? Exactly. And like I think their um occupation is kind of only as useful as the wardrobe you're putting on for the audition, right? It's like you need to be able to suggest what that is with your wardrobe, but that might also depend on where they are, what time of day it is, who you're talking to, right? Like there's so many other factors that go into that. Um,
I have a fun. So okay,
yeah,
I had a self tape last summer for a bartender, and I had to pour shots. Like the character asks for shots, and I say you got it or whatever, and I pour shots. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it in my self tape, right? So I set up a little table in the
yeah,
underneath the camera for like, and I set up a side table so you could hear some clinking, and I had a bottle. Um, I had a bottle for faking shots. I didn't pour liquid, I don't think. But I did it. My wife used to be a bartender, and she was like, "Oh, you just got to do this. Like, you just got to turn your hand all the way over. Like, this is no problem. Like, this is just what you do, right?
yeah, yeah,
And you pour the shots." I was like, "Oh, great, great. No, like one little piece of truth, and like it solved
yeah.
the whole thing." and and then I think I had to do a Boston accent, and um I had to do a little I had to do all that while talking. And then so I think in the scene it was written with two characters. I got the job, filmed it, and uh in the audition I thought, oh, I'm just pouring shots for these two characters.
Yeah.
And in the shoot I was pouring shots for five characters.
Whoa. Yeah.
And they filmed the shit out of this. So it was just like I was
You're in
pouring
every
shots.
shot, every
So it was
coverage.
like
Yeah.
there's a
Right.
prop person coming up to me with all the, and then like the glasses and the whatever. And then in between, that's happening there. But before that, I have to take this person's glass, and I have to
Yeah.
talk to this extra over here. And then, and they filmed it so many ways. And then they were like, they wanted to do the money shot of the shot pouring, of just like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can imagine in the shot exactly like five glasses and just like
Yeah. They're just
slopping
gonna.
water
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Right. Right.
but I like talking and pouring and five,
In
just
your
like
dialect. Yeah.
it was so hard, man. It was just like, and I'm sure it's going to get cut together. We'll see what it turns out like, but it was just like, they're like, oh, that one wasn't quite even all the way across.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
someone improvised with me. I was like, this one's extra for you or whatever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like, we'll see but yeah, it's like, I didn't go and get a bartending job to do that. It was like, everyone else did their, from props to camera to the director to the other
Yes.
actors,
Right.
did everything to make it look, to sell it
Yeah. You have
with,
help. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, cool. Okay. We could talk. I mean, the big thing I think that preparation tends to get a lot of attention would be the memorization or
Yeah.
getting off book, right?
Yes.
Um,
Not technically a requirement, but it is.
yeah. I mean, let's talk about that. It's not technically a requirement, but it helps. I think on one hand, it helps. I've found in the past, the more I memorize, the more prepared I am usually.
Yep.
As long to a point where I'm not over rehearsed, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so
I would say there's one exception for over rehearsing for dialogue, and that would be when you have technical jargon,
yeah.
right? And then like, um, it's a challenge because they say that stuff like it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
So that like what I have found useful for myself is to find ways to work it into my everyday life, like almost as a joke, right?
Hmm.
Where I could say like, oh, you close the react valve before you shut down the power pump. I see what you did there. Like it's just like in trying to make it feel like as if it was something I would say all the time, right? And
Yeah.
like so finding every excuse to use those like technical jargon in my daily life,
And get it in your
it
mouth.
just
Yeah.
get it in your mouth. So
Yeah.
exactly. So it just sounds like a word you say constantly. But anyways, but that's the one exception that I think there is.
Yeah, I mean, I that yeah, technical jargon. I think what comes to mind when I think of memorization is and I haven't had any instances lately, but back in the day, it was like when Mad Men was on TV and Aaron Sorkin shows were on TV, it was like Word Perfect. Word
Yep.
Perfect was for those, and I think maybe too for sick, maybe all sitcoms that were back in the like
Yep.
10 years ago. It's probably still
It
true for sitcoms now.
more
Just
material than you think. Or I think
wants Word Perfect.
once Word Perfect. Yeah, I feel like I've seen that trend in indie film sometimes too, with
Oh, okay.
directors of a certain scale. Yeah,
Yeah.
you start to see like, oh, they want Word Perfect.
Yeah, I think that I mean it's hard because frankly I'm for sending a even if I
Yeah,
know I messed it up as word perfect, it's not word perfect. I said if it's the best take I send it.
same.
So you have to balance it, but there is
It
advantages to being word perfect, I suppose.
it takes a lot of time to be Word Perfect because
It does.
you're not going to be Word Perfect every take, right?
Right.
Because you should understand your characters such that the spontaneous response is the word that's been written,
Right.
right? That shifts, every take's you're a little different every take. Every take's a little different. So sometimes but if you can get it to the point where the only thing you're thinking about is the words and like your body is kind of taken over the emotional aspect of it for you and the response for you, like you can get there, but that takes a lot of rehearsal. That's like doing a play, right? Where like you get
Yeah.
to a point where I don't have to do anything anymore. This guy's on
Well,
autopilot.
so you see
Right? Yeah.
that now, I think, because of the self-tape situation with a lot of actors
Yeah.
electing to do teleprompter work,
Right.
or to just read. And I think that's um, there's a
Different
danger in
skill
that
set.
too.
It's a
A
different skill
different
set.
skill set, and also like you got to hide it differently. Like you
Yeah.
gotta you there to me, I like familiarity. I like knowing the scene, the beats, and the more I learn the words and the more I roll the words around in my mouth and in my mind, the more I find character thoughts and
Yes.
character ideas. Um, but I like when you're really focused on like I gotta be memorized, then it's like, oh, there's a long period of time where you're in your head trying
Yeah.
to be and you're like, there's an ellipses here, and then I say this with an exclamation. You're just like,
Yes. Right. There's a vocal geography to it you're trying to recite, right?
yeah,
That can
yeah,
that can be really challenging.
and then that can like lock you into something that's hard to.
Well, especially if you like misinterpret something,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like if
I've done
you're,
that. Yeah,
yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, if you're misinterpreting something and now that's like kind of baked in, and someone says something that makes you think of it differently, and you're like, oh, I don't even
I'm an
know what I'm.
idiot.
Yeah, well, first I'm an idiot, but then also like, what's my next line?
Yeah,
It's
right.
like it completely sends you off the rails, which is funny how that happens.
I we did these like directing classes in college, and like you directed your friends in a one
Yeah,
act play essentially, and my buddy directed us in a scene from Henry the Fourth, I think.
yeah,
And me and my good buddy were like Hal and Falstaff,
yeah.
and there were a bunch of other younger actors in it playing with us because it was in a bar, whatever. And I swear we did not know our lines. Like we just did not know them. And like we knew them, but we hadn't rehearsed enough. There wasn't enough
Oh
time,
yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever. And like we had to do it twice. And the in between the first performance, the second performance, one of the actresses came up to me, Claire, and she was just like, "Oh, we just figured out our characters, what we're gonna do." And I was like, "Don't do anything different." You will
Don't
screw
you
me up.
dare. Yeah, right. Especially for
I'm
like
just
Shakespeare. Yeah.
blacking out and performing this. So like,
Oh, I've had, yeah, I think we've all had that nightmare of like going up and not being prepared, right? It's
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's gonna happen. Your brain
oh yeah.
will just let go of something.
Well,
But so it's like, I guess for auditions' sakes, like memorizing helps a lot as
well,
long as it doesn't get. Yeah, go ahead.
so I think this also ties a little bit into our first point of preparation about like understanding the production, right?
Hmm.
And like if you look at their material, you're going to get a sense or certain tone lends itself to being word perfect versus like sometimes you want to be fast and loose, and that's an advantage. Like there's an advantage in that, right?
Yeah,
Where you want it to kind of be a little messy, a little sloppier. I find like
sure.
comedy sometimes. Again, it depends. It
Well, now
depends.
there's a lot of, yeah. It depends on the
It
like. There's a
depends because sometimes they want to rely on you as an improviser, but not always. Although sometimes like I feel like comedy is more welcoming to a change if it's funny, right?
yeah,
If you say something differently but it's funny, they're like, "Cool, do that."
yeah,
So there's something different there. I feel like the horror genre is also like one of those where they're like tend to be a little looser. It's like
sure.
just we don't care what you say necessarily. This point has to come out, but like this guy's trying to kill you, and it's like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like a little loose.
I mean, I think that goes
Yeah,
back to like, yeah, researching the production team, right? Because
right.
like, if
Well,
you're going to audition for the pit or pluribus, like you probably want to be like
tight.
90% to 100% on those words because those
Yeah,
were very intentionally written.
right. There's a
And if you're
cadence, a
auditioning
pace.
for an indie film that's kind of got a loose vibe to it, like, and that you can try to find a way to make it your own, to have a little more spontaneity.
Well, and when
You know?
you've done this enough too, you can tell from the writing, right? Like
Yeah,
they're gonna be loose here, or like this is very deliberate, right? Like you can tell.
yeah.
Um, I think the other thing with I mean, fast and loose can be a trap also.
Hmm.
Um, but the point I was trying to get to was I think you need to, when you're doing your research, you can trust your instinct on this as to like what feels appropriate
Yeah,
for the scene that you're about to do. And if you're in doubt, send both, right? Maybe you start off loose and you end word perfect, or vice versa. You know,
yeah,
or talk to casting. You can always ask casting too. What if you have questions.
sure. Yeah, that's a good tip. How about performance?
Yeah,
How do we prepare for performance? So we've kind of already talked about being over rehearsed. Um, what for? We've talked about preconceived ideas. We've talked about being in the moment. I think we've kind of covered
yeah,
performance in a lot of ways. But what
sure.
are the things when, whether you're working on a scene or an audition rather, or helping another actor, what are the things that pop out as like, ooh, I think we need to work this some more, or we need to, I think you're good, I think this is the take.
For me, I don't really notice what these things are um, until we're like I feel like I don't know what it's gonna be until I do it for real the first time.
Hmm.
And then some stuff starts to become a little more apparent where it's like, oh, I don't understand. Like, or by this point, I'm usually trying to diagnose, like, all right, this is too fast, it's too slow, I'm too big, I'm too small, right, in terms of like emotional output, or like I'm gesturing instead of just feeling, like especially like if I was just working in theater and then I'm
Oh,
doing,
you can feel
doing a
yourself
self
like
tape, and it's like,
contorting.
well, no, I'm like trying to blast the back row here, and this thing is 2 feet from me,
Yeah.
um, so I start to troubleshoot that. I'm an actor that does really well watching playback, so like I can watch myself and it doesn't take me out of it, and I also don't hate it. Right, I see it as an opportunity to be like, yeah, that feels like a movie. I can send that in, or I can see that there's this part in the story that's not coming through. Like I understand that this is about my brother, but it's not reading. So let me do something
Mm,
different, right? Now, figuring out that something different is sometimes really hard, but um, that tends to be what my approach is. And then if I'm watching another actor, it's kind of something similar too. It's like I want to have some familiarity with the scene, or through the doing of it, some things might become clear as you get to the end of it. You're like, you know what? You might be able to help yourself out here by planting a little seed at this part, right? And then you'll get this payoff at the end. And it's now going to feel like a really tight thing, right? In terms of
yeah.
story, but not tight in terms of performance. Um, so it's yeah. So I think I like to shape it as I go.
Yeah. 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 I think we just all can benefit from that outside eye.
Yeah,
And I think also I find the more I do this, the more I learn about sort of what my habits are in
sure.
terms of my prep. Like, oh, I'm really good at like pinpointing like trying to think of like putting it in a concrete terms.
Just like great
I
at nailing eye lines. Like,
yeah, I can yeah,
you there? Hey, you take a
yeah.
second, and I'll bring it
I'm
back to you. Right. Yeah, yeah.
I feel pretty confident like creating a blocking that's going to work on the self tape. I feel
Yep.
confident um delivering truthful performance.
Sure.
That I don't always give myself enough time to like give a whole arc or to have a beginning,
Sure.
middle, and end or
Uh-huh.
and
Not
something
every
that I
character has that either. Not every scene has
that's
that.
that's true. But I think you can find ways if you
Yes.
give it some
Yeah.
thought, you can be like, well, what am I feeling at the beginning or what is my thought coming into it? And maybe could that change, right? And it
Well,
could be about nothing related to the scene,
yeah.
but
I think a useful tip there for that is like, what part of the scene do you understand?
mhm,
The other side of it, like, do you understand the beginning or do you understand the end? The opposite, the other side is usually the opposite, right? So you have
yeah,
that transformation.
you want to
Yeah.
have a build or you want to yeah.
Right. Right.
And yeah, so and it's like with music too, right? Like when you're learning an instrument and it's like if you need to be loud, there's only so much loud. So you got to start softer or you
Right.
got to like pop and come back and bit like
There's
so you
yeah.
can find
There's
those.
a lot of undulating. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like I guess another way of saying maybe if it's not beginning, middle, and end, if it's like, well, what part do I like you just said, do I really understand? Okay, what's another side of it that I maybe could like give some thought to or explore in a take and then marry together in a final take. I think when I help other friends with their self tapes, the questions they ask me afterwards guide me to like where I think I can the question they ask or the thing that's worried I can tell is worrying about usually is the clue of like, oh, okay, cool. You're really worried about this for some reason.
Sure.
And me as an outside observer, I'm like, let's talk about the scene. What's happening here? Let's talk about the setting or what the
Right.
environment that
Right.
you're in.
Right.
And just picking up a different um element to sort of give attention to, and then that tends to balance things out, I think, and make it a
Yeah,
little more
it's
lived
almost
in.
like a light scene study class, right? In a
Yeah,
way, because like there might be it might be fine, right? And you might be like, oh, I got nothing. Do it again.
yeah,
It's like I would send that one, but
yeah,
or yeah, or sometimes you are like, hey, it's going to be something fundamental, right? That's breaking down or not coming across that maybe isn't understood, or um, right now they are preoccupied with something else, so this one element is falling out, right? Maybe that's like the event of the scene, right? And there needs to be some business that at the top or
mm,
throughout, like maybe they're like, so you start figuring out that kind of stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, there's something missing here. I think you're trying to avoid this conversation, so maybe like give yourself something to do to avoid the conversation, and then it's
yeah,
like, oh, and now it's alive, right? And it's
yeah.
like it's working, and you can kind of feel that.
And then there's also this idea of like, is it too much like me, or is it too much like like forcing a character versus I'm just playing myself? And
Sure.
so it's like, well. let's just do light scene study and like just pop off a bunch of questions about it and then like come to like how do you
Yeah.
feel about those circumstances and then just
Right.
play it and like you don't want to force you don't want to force anything. You want it to feel it's everything needs to be relaxed
Yeah.
even in a intense scene.
Well, and it's nice too from the outside when you're helping a friend because they've spent so much time on it.
Yeah,
And you haven't, that sometimes you can just be like, all right, so excuse me for being dumb, but like what did you do just before you got here?
right.
Like, okay. All right, so you're walking into this after you just got this terrible bit of news and this is surprising you. All right, cool. Do you want to try it again? You know, and
Yeah.
they'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like just sometimes that's helpful, it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's I mean it's that's everyone's going to have their own version of that, but the
Yeah.
I think we can all get in our heads, and that's where we know you are doing something that's not playing the moment, right? And so like having a
Well,
friend pull you out of it
yeah,
is
and that could
key.
also be an indicator, like, I mean, that you care, right? And you've put the prep in and whatever, and now you're self-conscious that it's not going to land or come across, and
Hmm.
or that you're not going to book it. And you put all this work in, like that's just the job, unfortunately. Um, but I think that that can be a good indicator that you do know what you're doing, and you now just need to let it go, right?
Yeah.
And just play, just like
And sometimes you just
just
have to
for
do it a couple times and
yeah,
like,
just
yeah,
remind
yeah.
yourself the fundamentals. Just do what you want, and yeah, and then just let it go. Let it rip.
Yeah. How about any final thoughts on preparation? Anything you've let go of preparation wise as you've gotten older, or anything that you prepare more than you used to?
It's kind of a bit of both
Uh-huh.
in a paradoxical answer. I think I'm better at getting to the depth I feel comfortable showing faster, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm better at understanding scenes faster and kind of figuring out narratively what's going on and what the purpose of the scene is and what the how the actor can then build the largest cliff to jump off of. I'm
Hmm.
pretty good at that. Um, uh, Over the years too, like I've also gotten really good at giving myself business to like make it a scene, right? Where it's like if there is something going on, trying to find ways to make that happen in the scene. So it just feels like they could cut it into the movie, but the background's missing, right? Is like the goal that you're trying to get to.
Hmm.
Um, I think some of the things that I've stopped doing, um, there's been in a previous episode, listener, if you haven't tuned in, we kind of went through our acting processes, and mine was like a very physical one. Um, I have less time for specific work in terms of like physicality. So I like find other ways to do that throughout the day, but I spend a lot less time um, going through uh, movements, or I guess I should say I'm much more flexible with my approach depending on what I feel like the inspiration to that character is, right? Like
Hmm.
I have more ways in now, and they're not always so time intensive, and that's a bit of just like having more experience, but also like by necessity having less time. Um, those two things have come together to like I feel like it's a lot more flexible.
Sure. Great.
Yeah,
I mean, I can jump. I think the flexibility for sure just happens the more reps you get, and it
just so much
also in
less
that is you're
precious.
trusting yourself
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So I feel like I've I've I, uh, part of my preparation unintentionally when I was younger involved imagining what booking this job could get me, right?
Oh,
And
sure.
like
Yeah, yeah.
adding all these other stressors
Pressures.
to
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Of like, ooh, this is one of those medical commercials where they have a long list of side
Yeah,
effects at the
yeah,
end. This
yeah.
will pay the big bucks,
Sure.
and then
A little bit of putting the cart before
worrying
the
about
horse.
it
Yeah,
and not focusing enough on the script or whatever.
sure.
So I think I've my prep has become more precise
Yeah.
And in that precision, I think comes more flexibility, just where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I know I can do it this way, so like I don't have that option right now, so let's what how I can probably knock this out in an hour if I like am really focused, and then we
Yeah.
film it. Go, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there's there's I mean there's several paradoxes in acting, but there's an interesting one with specificity and flexibility, where like the
Yeah,
more specific you're able to be, the easier it is to pivot to something else just as specific,
yeah.
right? So like there's a freedom in that choice making.
Sure. And your brain will make all sorts of
Yeah.
amazing connections to because you've given it a roadmap that's super specific that it's like, oh, well, then this is my reaction
Yeah.
or
Surprise
yeah,
yourself.
just to
Yeah.
like in memorization, specificity, like there's a freedom that comes from uh really honing in on the important stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Did we cover it? Did we prepare? Have the actors prepared?
I think they have. We're ready to go on creating character, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Be a character. Um, yeah, was it? Was it AB build a character?
Yeah.
Or wait, was it an
It's an
actor
actor
prepare
prepares. Yeah, I think it's becoming character. I don't know. This is a
becoming?
Googleable answer.
AB
Let's see. What was it? Stanislavski's three books. An actor prepares building a character, creating a role.
creating a role.
That's
Okay,
right. On rehearsing
that's
and
the thing I
preparation.
haven't been doing. Um,
Right, right.
uh, cool. Any ad libs? What you
World
got?
Cup's going on right now.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about Germany.
Yeah, right. There's
50-year drought. It's bound to happen, I guess, that you're going to lose the PKs in 50
well, it should
years.
never have gone to PKs, but that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Uh-huh.
We'll save the digital replay ruining the sport of football.
Oh,
But yeah. So the World Cup, I'm enjoying it right now. It's the most soccer I've watched in a long time, and it's a fun game. I wish it was more readily available on TV here.
like you. What do you mean? Like
Not
all the
like
time?
MLS, right? It's like difficult to find.
Oh, yeah. MLS is like, I think, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you have to on the West Coast. You have to get up early to watch
Sure. Same with like
uh,
Premier League. You have to get up
English
super
Premier League
early.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I get up
or
early for Formula One, so it wouldn't be that different, but it's also like
yeah,
the games are all the time. But
yeah. That's true. That's true. My the thing that's bringing me joy. We're doing a rewatch of Girls, Lena
okay.
Dunham's Girls,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because a lot of those people have gone on to have different careers, and
Sure.
uh, since I did not watch it back in the day,
Yeah.
and my wife did, so it's her experience of watching it when she was of that age to now is interesting to
Yeah.
like just dive in, and then um yeah, I don't know, I don't it's just like, huh, what a show, interesting.
Yeah.
Like she takes some big, there's some episodes that are incredible and there's others you're like, huh, interesting.
That was a choice.
and
Yeah.
and there's parts of it that are like, I don't know. It's interesting because it is both a satire and kind of doing the thing it's satirizing.
Yeah.
So like it is telling a story and satirizing at the same time. So uh and now I think we're a few seasons in, but it's a nice just end of the night, throw on 30, we have 30 minutes before we're tired. Let's watch Girls because it's pretty reliable and
Yeah.
consistent and funny. And even though it was over 10 years ago or longer, it's 20 years ago. Is that right? Would
I
that
think
be right?
so. Yeah.
Uh
No, 10. It's gotta be. I was still in drama school.
it's not that dated, so it like still
Yeah.
holds up in terms of those. I mean, their cell phones are funny looking, but other
Sure.
than that,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. Other than that, you're like, oh, the 20s. Got it. 20-year-old. Tough life.
That's funny. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. You can always send us a question or a comment at ask@supportingactors.com. Tell us about your preparation. What do you agree with, disagree with? We want to hear it. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You leave us a comment there. It's very helpful. Helps the algorithm let people know that we're making stuff. This has been another episode of Supporting Actors. I'm Sean Dubay.
I'm Patrick Quinlan.
And tune in next week when Patrick and I declare independence from our limiting self-beliefs.
Ooh.